The transport ship Aurora Wind drifted through the deep stretch of the Serapis Nebula, its metal skin glowing faintly under the shifting lights of cosmic clouds. Inside the vessel, human scientist Ethan Ward adjusted the visor on his helmet and looked out of the viewing window. He had been traveling for weeks, part of a diplomatic research mission to explore the newly discovered planet Valora 9, home to a race humanity had just made contact with. For most of his life, Ethan had read about alien civilizations in books, never truly believing he would meet one. Now he was about to walk among them. Valora 9 was a planet full of towering crystal forests, rivers that glowed under moonlight, and skies painted in two suns. But what fascinated him most wasn't the beauty of the place, and it was the people. The Valorians, as they were called, were humanoid but distinctly alien. Their skin carried a faint shimmer that changed color with emotion, and their large silver eyes reflected every shade of light. When the ship landed on the crystalline platform, Ethan followed the crew out into the open. The air smelled faintly of ozone and flowers. Tall figures awaited them, their slender forms moving gracefully as they bowed in greeting. Their leader, a woman named Siren, stepped forward. Her skin glowed with soft blue light as she spoke in a calm, melodic voice through the translator. "Welcome, travelers from the blue world. We are honored by your presence." Ethan nodded politely, trying to look professional, but his heart beat faster. He wasn't used to meeting anyone who looked this ethereal. As he followed the group toward the city, his gaze caught someone standing behind Siren, a younger Valorian woman, watching quietly. She was shorter than the others, her skin faintly silver with hints of pink that danced like ripples under her translucent surface. Her eyes were bright, almost curious. She looked at him the same way one might study a strange bird that suddenly appeared in their garden. Their eyes met for a moment, and she smiled faintly before turning away. Something about that small, simple gesture made his chest tighten. Later, when the diplomatic introductions were done, Ethan was assigned to the local research center to exchange scientific knowledge. There he saw her again. The same Valorian girl was working at one of the luminous tables, her delicate fingers tracing patterns on a floating holographic screen. When she noticed him, her colors shifted again, a faint pink hue spreading across her cheeks. He approached cautiously. "Hi, I'm Ethan. You're part of the research team, right?" She turned, her voice soft but clear. "Yes, my name is Liara. I study xenobiology. You are the human scientist." Her English, filtered through the translator chip, sounded smooth, almost musical. Ethan smiled awkwardly. "That's right. I'm studying interspecies genetics and adaptation." She tilted her head slightly. "Your kind has much curiosity." "That is good." "Curiosity builds bridges," he chuckled. "Sometimes it also gets us in trouble." That made her laugh, a gentle, airy sound like wind through chimes. She motioned for him to look at the holographic display. Together they studied the molecular patterns of Valorian flora, comparing it to human biology. Their differences were vast, yet somehow they found patterns of connection, small echoes between two distant worlds. As hours passed, conversation became easier. Liara asked about Earth, about oceans, rain, and what snow felt like. She seemed fascinated by the way humans experienced emotions, the subtle changes in tone and expression. Ethan, in turn, was amazed by how Valorians expressed their emotions through colors. The shift of pinks, blues, and golds across their skin was like a living painting. "You don't hide what you feel," he said. "It's kind of beautiful." Liara smiled shyly. "We could say the same about humans. You hide your feelings, but your eyes give them away." Her gaze lingered on him for a moment too long, and something unspoken passed between them. Ethan tried to focus on the screen, but he could feel warmth creeping up his neck. When the workday ended, they walked outside the research dome. The Valorian sunset was breathtaking, two suns descending together, lighting up the crystal trees until they shimmered like fire. Liara stopped and looked toward the horizon. "This is my favorite hour," she said softly. "When the day and night touch each other." Ethan nodded. "It's incredible. On Earth we have sunsets too, but nothing like this." She turned to face him, her silver eyes reflecting both suns. "Your people must have beautiful worlds, even if they are different." He smiled. "Some places, yes. But right now I think this is the most beautiful place I've ever seen." Liara blinked, her colors shifting from silver to a sudden warm red that spread across her cheeks and down her neck. Ethan noticed and hesitated. "Did I say something wrong?" She looked away quickly, her voice softer now. No, you said something kind. We change color when emotions rise. It is difficult to hide. Realizing what had happened, Ethan grinned slightly. Oh, so you blush too. She frowned lightly, pretending confusion. Blush? When humans feel shy or flattered, he explained, our faces turn red. It means someone said something that made us feel nice. Liara's lips curved into a teasing smile. So you think I am? What word did you use? He hesitated. Gorgeous. I said this place is beautiful, but maybe I also meant you. For a moment there was silence. The air between them felt almost charged. Liara's colors deepened into a brighter red and her eyes sparkled mischievously. She stepped closer, her tone playful. Say it again. Ethan blinked, caught off guard. What? Say it again, she repeated, her voice calm but with a hint of challenge. The word you said. Gorgeous. Her accent made the word sound new, as if it carried a melody. Ethan laughed softly, a mix of nervousness and wonder. You're gorgeous, Liara. This time she laughed, an open, delighted sound. Humans use such words so easily, she teased. On Valora, we use color and light to express beauty. You use sound. Perhaps both ways are true. They stood together as the last light of the suns faded and the crystal trees began to glow in the dark. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was peaceful, full of quiet understanding. Ethan realized he had crossed an invisible line, not one of rules or diplomacy, but of something far more delicate. He had spoken to her not as a scientist to a subject, but as one being to another. And she had responded not with fear, but curiosity, and maybe something more. As the night deepened, Liara looked up at the stars. Your people came here with ships and light. You bring change, but you also bring warmth. Ethan followed her gaze. And maybe your people will teach us how to feel in colors. She smiled again, her skin flickering with soft hues of violet and pink. Maybe we will teach each other. The wind carried a faint hum through the glowing trees. In that alien twilight, surrounded by beauty he could barely describe, Ethan understood something profound. That connection wasn't limited by species, distance, or even biology. It began with a single word, a shared moment, and the courage to see another being not as alien, but as equal. As they walked back toward the research dome, Liara glanced at him once more, her colors glowing faintly red again. Ethan, she said softly, tomorrow when you see me again? You may say it again if you wish. He laughed gently. I might just do that. The stars of Valora 9 shimmered above them, and for the first time since leaving Earth, Ethan didn't feel far from home. The next morning, soft golden light spread over the crystal city of Valora. Ethan woke early, his thoughts still replaying the moment from the night before. Liara's face, glowing with faint red light when he called her gorgeous, kept appearing in his mind. He wasn't sure what that color meant exactly, but he knew it was something special. He dressed quickly and made his way to the research dome. The air outside shimmered faintly with the light of the twin suns. As he walked through the glowing streets, Valorians passed with polite nods, their skin showing calm silver and blue tones. The city felt peaceful, almost too peaceful for a place at the edge of interstellar politics. When he reached the dome, Liara was already there, working at one of the luminous tables. Her hair caught the morning light, glowing faintly white. She looked up as he entered, and a soft smile curved her lips. Good morning. Ethan, she said. Good morning, he replied, trying not to sound too eager. They began to work together again, examining samples of plant cells that could filter radiation. The Valorian technology was unlike anything he had seen. The screens responded to touch, thought, and even emotional signals. Whenever Liara focused deeply, the light around her grew warmer, as if the devices responded to her mood. As the hours passed, they spoke about simple things, music, weather, how humans celebrated festivals. Liara listened with bright curiosity, often asking questions that made him laugh. You throw colors into the air during this. Holy? She asked, her eyes wide. Yeah, Ethan said, smiling. It's a celebration of joy and friendship. People cover each other in colors. It's messy but fun. She tilted her head. So you become living rainbows. That is beautiful. Maybe humans are more like us than we thought. He chuckled. Maybe we are. The conversation grew comfortable, almost familiar. Every so often he caught her watching him with quiet amusement, as though she was studying a puzzle she enjoyed solving. At midday, They stepped outside for a short break. The plaza around the research dome was busy, filled with Valorians trading small crystal-like fruits and fabrics that shimmered like water. Ethan followed Liara to a quiet spot near a small pool. The surface reflected the sky like liquid glass. Liara knelt and touched the water, sending tiny ripples across it. "This pool remembers sound," she said. "If you speak over it, it holds your words for one night." Ethan smiled. "That's poetic." "Try it," she said. He leaned closer to the surface and spoke softly. "Hello, Liara." His reflection trembled as if the water had taken the word into itself. She looked at the pool, then at him. "Now tonight when the moons rise, it will whisper your words back." "That's kind of magical," Ethan said quietly. She smiled. "It is science and memory, but I like to think it is also magic." They sat there for a while talking about their worlds. Ethan told her about oceans and cities of glass on Earth. Liara spoke of Valorian myths, ancient stories of light beings who fell from the sky and taught her people to speak through color. As they talked, something subtle changed between them. It was in the way they leaned closer, the way silence felt safe. Ethan didn't need to explain every word, and she didn't need to translate every emotion. Their connection was growing, slow but certain. That peaceful moment was interrupted by a sudden vibration in the ground. A deep hum filled the air, followed by a flash of light from the sky. Both of them looked up. A dark ship was descending beyond the horizon, not a Valorian craft. Liara's colors shifted to pale blue. Fear. "That is not one of ours," she said. Within minutes, a communication alert echoed across the city. Valorian guards moved swiftly, forming protective formations around the main plaza. Ethan followed Liara back inside the dome, where the screens now showed warning symbols. Commander Seren appeared through the doorway, her expression calm but tense. "A vessel from the Dravik Syndicate has entered orbit without permission. They are scanning our energy fields," Ethan frowned. "The Draviks? I've heard of them. Scavengers and raiders. They usually avoid civilized planets?" Seren nodded. "Usually. But now they have come to Valora. Perhaps because they know humans are here." The thought sent a chill through Ethan. "You think they're here for us?" "Maybe," Seren replied. "They might seek to capture human technology, or trade secrets from your Federation." Ethan turned to Liara. "If they attack, what will you do?" She looked at him steadily. "We do not fight often, but we will protect our home." The tension in her voice made his heart ache. He wanted to help, but humans weren't allowed to interfere with local defense systems. Still, he couldn't stand aside. That evening, the skies over Valora darkened. The Dravik ship hovered like a shadow, broadcasting a message that none of the Valorian translators could decode. Ethan joined Liara in the control room, where she worked furiously to strengthen the planetary shields. Sweat glistened on her skin, glowing with soft violet light as she concentrated. "They are trying to break through the outer layer," she said. "If they succeed, the city will be vulnerable." Ethan's mind raced. "Maybe I can help. I've studied human shield harmonics. Maybe our tech can stabilize your frequency grid." Liara glanced at him, unsure. "Your technology is different." "It's different," he said. "But maybe together we can make it stronger." She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Very well. Let us try." Working side by side, they connected Ethan's portable console to the Valorian system. The holographic display expanded, showing two patterns, one human, one Valorian, slowly merging into a single pulse. The energy field began to stabilize, glowing brighter as the Dravik signal weakened. "It's working," Ethan said. Liara's voice was soft but urgent. "Do not stop." Outside, the Dravik ship fired a low-energy beam that struck the outer shields. The ground shook, but the barrier held firm. Liara gasped as the lights flickered, then steadied again. She looked at Ethan with wide eyes, her skin glowing gold. "You did it," she whispered. "We did it," he corrected, smiling faintly. Before they could celebrate, another tremor ran through the dome. A smaller vessel detached from the main Dravik ship, descending toward the surface. The defense system scrambled to respond. "They're landing troops," Ethan said. "We need to move." Liara shook her head. "No, we must finish stabilizing the shield core first." If the main generator fails, the entire city will fall. Ethan clenched his jaw. Then we finish it. Fast. The two of them worked under flickering lights, linking power lines and rerouting energy flows. The hum of the generators filled the air like a heartbeat. Every few seconds, the ground quaked as explosions echoed in the distance. When the final connection locked into place, the control panels glowed a steady white. Liara let out a long breath. It's done. The shield is holding. Ethan smiled in relief, but their moment was cut short when the door burst open. 2 Valorian guards entered, followed by Commander Storym. The Draviks have retreated for now, she said. Your quick action saved many lives. Liara bowed her head slightly. We worked together. Storym turned to Ethan. You have our gratitude, human. Valora owes you a debt. Ethan shook his head. No debt. Just glad I could help. As the commander left to oversee the rest of the defense, Ethan turned to Liara. The tension slowly faded from her face, replaced by a tired but radiant smile. Her colors shifted again, from gold to a faint rosy pink. You risked much, she said softly. Your people's laws forbid interference. He shrugged lightly. Sometimes the right thing breaks the rules. She laughed gently. You sound like a Valorian now. The silence that followed was warm. Outside, the sky cleared, showing thousands of stars scattered like diamonds. The city lights reflected in her eyes. Ethan stepped closer. Liara, I don't know what happens next, but I'm glad I met you. Her voice was quiet but certain. And I am glad you called me gorgeous. He laughed softly. That again? Her smile turned teasing. Say it again, then. He looked at her for a long moment, his voice low but clear. You're gorgeous, Liara, and brave. Her colors deepened, glowing bright red now like the heart of a star. Careful, Ethan Ward, she said, half teasing, half sincere. If you keep saying that, my heart might forget it is Valorian. He smiled gently. Then I guess both our hearts are learning something new. As they stood there under the alien sky, 2 beings from different worlds, the distance between them felt smaller than ever. The storm had passed, but something new was beginning. A bond neither of them could explain, glowing brighter than any color or word could describe. 2 days had passed since the Dravik attack. The skies of Valora 9 were calm again, and the crystal towers gleamed like glass under the light of the twin suns. Yet beneath the peace, the city was uneasy. Rumors spread that more ships might be coming, not from the Draviks this time, but from Earth itself. Inside the research dome, Ethan stood beside a large communication panel, reading the incoming message from the Human Federation. It was clear and formal. The Federation requests immediate retrieval of its personnel and full debrief regarding Valorian defense systems. He sighed. So they're pulling us out, he murmured. Liara stood nearby, watching him with soft silver eyes. Your people are afraid, she said. They think you gave us your secrets. Maybe they are afraid of what they don't understand, he replied quietly. Or maybe they think we got too close. Her colors flickered faintly pink. Did we? Ethan hesitated, his gaze meeting hers. Maybe, but I don't regret it. They fell silent for a moment. Outside, the city shimmered under the morning light, and distant birds with translucent wings moved gracefully across the sky. Liara turned back to her work table, her hands moving slowly across the holographic screen. Our people will meet with your commanders soon, she said. They will decide what happens next. Perhaps it will be goodbye. The word goodbye felt heavy. Ethan looked at her and wished he could find something better to say. But words felt too small. Later that day, the human delegation arrived in orbit. 3 massive ships descended through the clouds, their hulls reflecting the sunlight like silver mountains. The Valorian Council gathered to welcome them, but tension hung thick in the air. Commander Storym led the delegation to the main hall, where glowing pillars surrounded a circular platform. Ethan stood among the humans, feeling oddly out of place. The Federation envoy, a tall woman named Admiral Keen, stepped forward. Valora 9, she began. We come in peace, but we must ensure that no Federation technology has been shared without authorization. Her tone was diplomatic but cold. Storym responded calmly. Your scientist helped us defend ourselves. Without him, many would have died. Is this something your people punish? Keen didn't flinch. We protect balance, Commander. We cannot risk advanced technology falling into hands we do not yet fully understand. Ethan clenched his fists, trying to remain silent, but Liara's hand brushed his lightly. Her touch was calm, a silent reminder not to speak out of anger. Still, he could see sadness in her eyes. After hours of negotiation, the Federation declared that all human personnel must return to their ships for evaluation. Ethan was ordered to prepare for departure by the next morning. That night, the city was quiet. Ethan sat on the terrace of the dome, staring at the twin moons reflected in the glass pools below. He heard soft footsteps behind him and turned to see Liara walking toward him. Her skin glowed with gentle hues of violet and pink, her emotions impossible to hide. "So this is your last night," she said softly. He nodded. "Seems like it. The Federation thinks I interfered too much." "Maybe you did," she said, smiling faintly. "But I'm glad you did." Ethan laughed quietly. "You sound like me now." Liara sat beside him. The night air was cool, filled with the sound of the distant crystal trees humming in the breeze. For a long while, neither spoke. Finally, she said, "When I was a child, I used to watch the stars and wonder if someone out there was watching them too. Now I know the answer." He looked at her. The words caught in his throat. "Liara, if I could stay, I would." She met his gaze. "You have a duty to your people, and I have a duty to mine, but that does not end what we feel." He smiled sadly. "You make it sound easy." She shook her head gently. "It is not easy, but it is real." They sat together in silence until the first light of dawn touched the horizon. Then Liara stood. "Come with me," she said. He followed her through the quiet streets to the pool they had visited before, the one that remembered sound. The water shimmered faintly under the twin moons, holding the echo of past voices. Liara knelt and placed her hand on the surface. "Do you remember what you said the first night?" Ethan smiled. "Hello, Liara," she nodded. "Say it again." He leaned closer and whispered into the water. "You're gorgeous, Liara." The surface rippled, and the word shimmered as if captured once more. When he looked up, her skin glowed red, brighter than before. "You always make me turn this color," she said softly. He laughed gently. "Then maybe that's my superpower," she smiled. "Then keep it safe." Before either could say more, a voice came through Ethan's communicator. "Dr. Ward, report to the shuttle bay immediately. Departure in 1 hour." He looked at her, not wanting to leave. "Liara." She stepped closer, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do not forget what you found here. Even if your people never understand, remember that connection is not weakness. It is strength." He nodded slowly. "I'll remember." As he turned to go, she caught his hand for just a second. "When the moons rise again, the pool will still hold your words. Maybe someday I will hear them once more." Ethan couldn't speak. He simply nodded, then walked away, the glow of her light fading behind him. Hours later, the human ships rose into the sky, leaving the shining city behind. From the observation deck, Ethan watched Valora shrink into a blue-white sphere, surrounded by the soft light of its twin suns. It felt like he was leaving a piece of himself behind. Back aboard the Aurora Wind, Admiral Keene met him in the command room. "Dr. Ward," she said, "you've caused quite a stir. The council is divided. Some call you a hero, others say you endangered the mission." Ethan looked at her calmly. "I did what I thought was right." Keene studied him for a moment, then sighed. "You may not realize it yet, but what you did proved something. The Valorians saw humanity at its best, not through power, but through compassion. Maybe that will matter one day." He nodded. "I hope so." The ship began its journey back toward Federation space. For days, Ethan moved through his duties quietly, but his thoughts always returned to Valora. The glowing trees, the pools that remembered sound, and the alien girl whose emotions painted light. One evening, as he reviewed his research logs, a message blinked on his console. It wasn't from the Federation network. It was a coded transmission from Valora 9. He hesitated before opening it. A familiar voice filled the room. "Ethan," Liara said softly through the static. "Our skies are clear again. The Council speaks of alliance with your people. Perhaps they learned something from you. I wanted to send you one last message, not in color but in words. You said once that humans use sound to show beauty, so I will try." There was a short pause, then her voice continued, gentle but sure. "You are gorgeous, Ethan Ward. Not because of how you look, but because of how you see." Ethan felt his chest tighten, a mix of surprise and warmth spreading through him. He closed his eyes, listening to her voice fade. The message ended with a faint echo, her laughter, soft and clear, followed by a sound like rippling water. He realized she must have recorded it beside the pool that remembered words. He smiled faintly, whispering to the empty room, "Say it again." Of course, she wasn't there to answer, but somehow he imagined the water whispering back, the way it had on Valora, weeks past. The Federation completed its report, and the incident on Valora was officially labeled a successful cooperative defense. But to Ethan, it had been something more, a meeting of two hearts under different stars. One night, as the Aurora wind traveled through deep space, he stood by the viewing window. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, yet one small blue-white point caught his eye. Valora 9, shining faintly among millions, he whispered softly. "Good night, Liara." And though there was no answer, he could almost imagine her colors glowing across the distance, turning red once more, somewhere out there. Under twin moons and crystal trees, a pool still held his voice, and somewhere beyond human understanding, a bond of light and words continued to exist, fragile, beautiful, and eternal.